Today is the final day of the International AIDS Conference in Vienna. There, scientists and researchers from around the world have been focusing on how to fight and how to cure the disease. At the same time, there are some people focused on challenging the conventional wisdom about AIDS. Some have labeled these people AIDS denialists. But is that fair, and are they really? Well, joining me now is Liam Sheff, a journalist from Boston, and you can decide. Now, first, Mr. Sheff, I want to ask, one of the things that you ask in your writing is why in the West are we obsessed with, quote, the sexual aspect of what we call AIDS? What do you mean by that?
I mean, this is supposed to be a sexually transmitted problem. This is supposed to be a sexual epidemic. But the research on sexual transmission, namely a study called the Padian study, was a 10-year study, took 175 couples. One person in each couple was positive, one was negative. They allowed them to proceed with their lives for the length of the study, having sex in a variety of ways that you can read about in the study. In the beginning, a majority did not use condoms. By the end, a majority did, but 25% still did not. 175 couples, regular sexual contact, 6 years, one positive, one negative. At the end of the study, how many people came up positive who had been negative? The number was 0. Now, 175 couples having sex over the period of a long study, the longest study ever done on this, for the most virulent sexually transmitted disease we've ever been told about or told existed, 0 is a pretty low number to indicate a sexual component to this.
Well,
Meanwhile,
Mr. Sheff, that does sound low. So why is that not a study that we hear about at all?
It's censored. It's censored even on the Wikipedia pages, if you're supposed to believe the Wikipedia about anything. Why would they censor it? Because they've sold this to the world as a sexual problem. Meanwhile, it's a toxicological problem. It's an environmental problem. In Africa, AIDS is a clinical problem of immense poverty and rampant real disease that's caused by a variety of things. That's Africa. That's the poor part of the world. Over in the West, you have a number of other toxicological issues that feed into the group that...
Okay, but Mr. Sheff, let's back up because I want to touch on what you said about this being characterized as a sexually transmitted disease. That study that you're citing and this aspect of the way that AIDS is sold, to put it in your words, what do you think this should mean for the 1 million people who the CDC estimates are living in the United States with HIV? Would you tell them to have unprotected sex regularly with their partner? Would you have unprotected sex regularly with your partner if they were infected with HIV or AIDS?
It's kind of a leading question. I'm not the attorney, what do they call it? The attorney general, and I don't make the laws for the country, and I'm not the surgeon general.
But based on what you know, for you.
You're asking me about my sex life? That's very personal. We've just met. I'll tell you this. This is supposed to be a sexually transmitted problem. I can tell you how the estimates that you're quoting come up, though. They're devised through a means that uses something called HIV testing. So if you're asking me about 1 million estimated people in the country being infected with something that really, in all probability, is not a sexual problem, we're dealing with two ends of a fictional rope.
Okay, well, hold on. First of all, back up, because you never answered my question. If what you believe you're saying about the sexual aspect of this disease is true, if your partner had HIV or AIDS, would you have unprotected sex with them regularly?
I'm not in that situation. I can't answer a hypothetical question.
Well,
factually.
What if you were? You researched this.
I'm answering your question. If I'm with somebody, they're probably going to understand that HIV tests are garbage. I think that would probably solve the problem.
So would you have unprotected sex with them, believing that they don't really have HIV or that the test is flawed?
That would be between me and my partner. It's none of your business.
Okay, fair enough. If these people, if this test is flawed, why should people believe someone like you, who is a journalist, not a scientist, over a scientific research organization, government organization like the CDC or like the other scientific researchers who do studies like this and come up with these tests?
No, you misunderstand. I'm reporting their studies to you. They don't report their studies to anyone. They censor this information. It's right there in the medical journals. If you want to find out how good or bad the tests are, all you have to do is read the medical journals. I don't invent this information. I'm not interested enough in this to invent it. It's nothing that I ever would have considered possible, that this level of deception could go on. It's kind of mind-boggling, but you end up researching it. You read the Journal of the American Medical Association and the New England Journal of Medicine and all the other papers publishing articles saying these tests have no standards. They come up positive for pregnancy for reasons we don't understand, for people. They come up positive in mice, in laboratory mice. They come up positive in dogs. These are very bad tests. That's not me saying that. I welcome the public debate to bring out the published information so that everybody can read it.
Quickly, if with what you're pointing out, why do you think that conventional wisdom isn't challenged?
People in power like to remain in power. If they made a very bad mistake in 1984 in forwarding a sexual hypothesis for what is clearly a broad spectrum toxicological problem, then they've terrified millions of people, billions of people for 25 years. And if they come forward and they say, well, sorry, but that actually we've known for a long time, the probability, the high probability is this is toxicological, environmental, but it is not something that's sexual in the sense that you can't have sex and suddenly die or die 20 years later for mysterious reasons from, a very difficult to characterize set of immune problems. If they say that, what will happen to them? Who will trust the medical authorities anymore if they come forward and they just reveal it?
Well, those are questions that we are not going to be able to answer today, but I want to thank you for weighing in with your insight on this topic. That was independent journalist Liam Sheff. Well, that is going to do it for our 4 o'clock show. But for more on the stories we covered, if you just can't wait until 5, go to rt.com/USA. Check out our YouTube page, youtube.com/RTAmerica, and follow me on Twitter @Lauren Lister. Go right now.